Hello, welcome to the Data Channel. So we are excited to bring up one more brand new series of videos and that is related to Python. So Python, as you know, is one of the most popular language in today's world and so in today's technological industries or in the industrial use cases. So wherever you see there are a lot of use cases for the Python, and especially from the data perspective, if you really see as a data engineer or the data enthusiast, if you want to learn the Python from the point of view from the data, because Python is used for many different use cases web application, web scraping, user interface creation, and a lot many use cases are there for Python. But so from the data engineering perspective or the data enthusiast perspective, how the Python can be used, or what are the different advantages of using Python for the data processing. So that we will completely discuss in this series of videos. And also we see it's a combination of both theoretical and practical, but more of a practical. So initial videos will be understand theoretical aspects, and then we will move to the practical series where we will start running the commands. We will take the real-time use cases and we'll work upon that. And before that, so in this video especially, right? So we want to discuss about as a introductory video, we want to discuss about history and features of Python. So it's very important to understand how exactly the Python evolved as a programming language, right? So before proceeding, if you are new to this channel, we would recommend you to please subscribe and also press bell button for instant notifications. So let's get started. So next we will understand the history of Python. So what exactly the origin of Python and when exactly it was developed and who developed it, right? So if you really see, go back in time, Python was created by Kyodo Van Rossum, and it was first released in 1991, right? And the successor to ABC language. So basically, Python was created by this person called Van Rossum, right? And Van Rossum started the development of Python way back in 1980s actually, and so it was a successor actually. As a first, he created a programming language called ABC, and the Python is actually a successor of a ABC programming language. And this particular programming language was created keeping in mind to address the shortcoming he had in his he had perceived or he has seen in the ABC while retaining its benefits. So he kept that the benefits of ABC as is, and but he brought the improvements, and then he called it as a Python. But the question might be like why he called it as a Python, right? So he called it as a Python because the name Python, you might think it is might be some kind of a Python snake or something, right? But the main motivation of the name Python is basically it was inspired by one of the British comedy series which was called Monty Python Flying Circus, right? And it was very funny, or the goal of that was having a fun and engaging to make the programming language more fun and engaging. So this particular Python's Flying Circus was actually having that fun element and engaging element. So that is why he named it as a Python to reflect that the intention from his perspective was to make a programming language which is quite like fun and engaging from the programming perspective, right? So that was his whole intention. And so next, how do we see it evolved as a over the time after that release? So once it was released in 1991, but actually the first version, the actual version of the general availability version was released on 1.1.0, what we call, was released on January 1994. This particular included many core concept, many core features that we see in present today's Python. That may be exception handling, like writing of functions, definitions, and the core data types that you see, right? Maybe list, tuple, dictionaries, and so on, right? So all those were introduced way back in the release one. And when you talk about release 2, which is on October 20, like October 2000, 2020, it introduced new feature, like list comprehensions, garbage collections, and support for Unicode, right? And the series 2x, this particular 2x 2.x series was actively developed and used until say Python 2.7, because it is not just 1.0 and 2.0, right? This is one is a major release, but after that .o is a minor release. So there will be 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. Similarly, we have 2.1, 2.2, 2.3. So till 2.7, which was the latest release in this particular series, it was around 2020 January. So that particular Python series was used. But from the Python 3.0 series, right? So that was released on December 2008, and Python 3 was major revision of the programming language that is actually not backward compatible to the Python 2. That means it might not have all the features. There are a lot of features that are revamped in Python 3 because it's a major release. And when we say it is not backward compatible, so they might have released the older features of 2.0, right? So that is why if you're using Python 3.0, there might be few features that are there in Python 2.0 which might be missing. But even though it is missing, we do not worry because it is more improved version in 3.0 because it is a major revision. And it introduced a significant change to improve the language consistency perspective and usability perspective, such as more consistent syntax and bringing in more better Unicode support and a cleaner separation between text and binary data. So, and if you want to learn more about the versions, right? So you have seen 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, but if you want to see more about the version, you have to go for this particular URL, right? And once you go to this URL python.org slash doc slash versions, you can really see when exactly, if you can come down at the bottom, so you can really see 1.4 when it was released, right? 1.5 when it was released. So there are like dot 4, dot 5, you can see those are minor releases, and even 5.1, 5.1 P1. So these are actually all the minor release. But when there is from one series to two series change, right? So that is what we call as a major release. That means there are major changes that are happened in the from one to two. So as you can see, there is a detailed timeline in this particular website, python.org doc versions. So, and if you really see what is the current version, so the current version is 3.12.3, which was actually released on 9th April 2024, right? Um, and next, moving on further, right? So what are the features of Python? Because any programming languages, if you want to learn, so it will have its own features. So that is the whole reason you learn a programming language, right? So if you're learning C, C++, you have some intention to learn that. If you have Java, you have some intention to learn Java, right? So what is the features of Python and what exactly uh, makes Python special, right? So there's like first is readability and simplicity, right? So if you take the example of a Python, or say for example, when you compare that with Java, C, C++, so Python syntax is more clear and easy to understand from the programming perspective, and it actually resembles the pseudocode. Suppose as a programmer, you write a pseudocode before exactly implementing, right? So it exactly uh, relate to how you write a pseudocode. So that is why it becomes more intuitive programming language from the developer perspective, and that is why it is more developer friendly, right? And also in most of the cases, because of some of the features that Python has, it makes code looks very simpler, or the number of lines also might be less when you compare, you want to write the same code in Java or C++. So that's why again Python is is more from the syntax perspective, it is more helpful from the for the developer, right? And the indentation perspective. So as a programmer, you might be aware that how important the indentation is, and the Python uses indentation to define the code blocks, enhancing the readability and reducing the likelihood of syntax error related to the braces and the keywords. So these kind of things we will definitely see in detail when we go to the practical aspects of it. But when you say indentation, right, like so whenever you start a code or whenever you have a if condition or a for loop, right, so you have that you segregate that into a particular lines and you give some spaces after you write some lines, right? Suppose like you write a for loop here, and then inside for loop you have a if condition, and inside if condition again you want to write one more if condition, right? So you are giving a gap, certain gap here, so that as a it become more readable that okay, inside for each there is a if condition, and inside if condition there is one more if condition. So that space will actually help programmer or developers to understand that very easily. And we call Python is a dynamically typed. So what that means is meaning variables do not require explicit declaration to reserve memory space, right? The type of a variable is determined at the runtime, making the language more flexible and easy to use. So what that means, right? Suppose like if you take C++, you will have to write int a equal to, all right, int a equal to 10. So you are actually explicitly mentioning what you want. Like you want to define integer and then you specify variable and then you specify 10. But when you come to Python, you just need to declare a equal to 10. So Python is very smart to understand that a is an integer in this case. Okay. But suppose if you declare a equal to xyz in the double quotes, right? So then it understands a is a string. Okay. So that is how. And so that is why we call it as a dynamically typed. Python is dynamically typed, and that becomes more flexible. So you are not locking it with a particular data type. It is very flexible, and it is based on the during the runtime. It actually defines itself the data type. So that is why it is called as a dynamically typed, right? And interpreted and high level programming language. So they're definitely like if you take Java, C++, so these are also like C++ is a sometimes we call it as a middle level programming language, but Java is a high level programming language, right? And similarly, Python is also high level programming language because so Python, what is high level programming language is like a more human understandable format. So if you take any programming languages of microprocessors where you will have to write a machine level programming languages. So it is something machine easily understands, but not human will not easily understand that. So that is what we call as a low level programming language, right? But here you are saying print of. Okay, so print inside print you are saying like hello, right? So this is a high level programming language because print is a human understandable format, and what you want to print you are giving in this in the bracket that also human readable format. So that is why we call Python as a high level programming languages. And you can call like you can have a for loop, you can have if loop. So you understand, right? For means for each element you want to iterate. If means it is a condition, right? So there are a lot of benefits of using this high level programming languages because it is very close to what human understands, right? And so basically Python abstracts this at a high level, and that will be helpful for the users or developers to work in. But actually in indeed in internally, right, so it has to be a machine level. It will be converted to machine level of code and it will be executed, right? And so Python code is executed line by line, which makes debugging very easier and allows for interactive testing and development. Suppose you have a like series of steps, like step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6, right? So it will execute line by line. So first line and then second line and then third line and so on and so forth. Suppose you can create a checkpoints in each layer. Okay, so I can have a checkpoint at each level and I can understand what exactly going in each step. So even though you have a for loop here, right, and each iteration what's happening. So it is rotating right here. So in each iteration, what's happening, we can easily understand by using a debug and creating a checkpoints, and you do a debug. So each step will be, it will Python will explain what it is doing. So it makes easy for the developers, right? And like next thing is it is having extensive standard libraries. So this is, if you are already using Python, you might be knowing like Python comes with a very vast libraries, set of libraries that includes take like a file handling or handling any input output or any system calls to web services and data serialization, right? And whatnot, right? And so there are third party packages also. The like if you say PI, that is Python package index, offers a very wide array of third-party packages for various application, extending Python's capabilities into different fields like web development and data analysis, machine learning, and so on. Right? And Python also supports multiple programming paradigms. That means, so as a programming, any programming language for that matter. So if you consider like object-oriented, how important object-oriented can be, right? So Python supports object-oriented programming with because it has classes and objects concept, and it's also procedure-oriented language. So it allows procedure programming with functions, and Python also includes functional features like map, filter, reduce, and lambda functions. So we will definitely see all these in upcoming videos, but this is what the Python supports as a and these are all the programming constructs, and it supports all of these. And Python is a cross-platform compatibility. That means Python is more portable, and so it doesn't matter whether you're coding in Windows, whether you're coding in Linux machine, Mac OS. So you can easily port the code. So if you are, it doesn't matter like, so you are writing a particular code in Windows, so it will still run in Linux. And if you're running a code in Mac, so you can still run in the same code can be run in Windows machine. So how that exactly happens, we will see in the in upcoming videos. But that is why, that is what it makes Python more portable kind of language. And for that matter, Java is also like a portable language if you're familiar with Java, right? Similar to that Java, so this is also portable language. And community and ecosystem, right? So Python is a open source. Open source means so it doesn't have any proprietorship that a particular person owns the rights of the Python. So it's actually having a large community of active programmers and active contributors who is actually writing a lot of libraries, creating a lot of libraries, supporting libraries, and helping it evolve over the time. Right? That is why it is having a lot of abundant resources, documentation, tutorials, and a lot of help if you want to have a lot of strong communities there. So if you have any questions, you will get answers very easily because a lot of people write a lot of libraries, and supporting libraries are explained in their GitHub like supporting versions, right? So a lot of features are available, and if you're having a uh, because of all of these features, right? So Python definitely is one of the most opted programming language for data processing. And if you talk about latest machine learning, AI, and also the libraries related to the visualization, right? So all those libraries related to all of this AI, ML, and visualizations are also available in Python. So that is why Python is one of the most opted programming language or most suitable programming language for any data processing and data analytics. So I hope this was helpful, and thanks for watching.